We left off with Ashra and love, and unfortunately we lost the file, so we're going to have to fit this in, and because the next file out of this fits into why we have to make this work. So
You have to fill in the gap.
you got to fill the gap, and that's okay. Maybe we missed something, we could fill it up a little fuller. So, and this is based off principality, dominion, and power, headship, about what's being risen right now, so it can come back down. It's right hand ascension, and then establishing, and then coming down the left hand. And this, I know there's a lot of talk about people are ascending the left hand path, and what we see is it's only can be ascended the right hand path. It comes down the left hand path and completing the circle. So I believe we started off with Ashra, and we can see in here that we have Astarte. And this roots out at 833, which is happy, straight as your way. And this, everything is still off the template of Yeshua, of what he would have determined as the walk and the way. So straight is the path between the two. We're kind of weaving, straight, yet weaving back and forth between the left and the right, mother and father. And that's kind of, it's straight as the weaver's beam is the language that we use, because you're still weaving between left and right, producing the straight path, and that's garment language.
And I think one thing that we should talk about too, just quickly, is that the first three letters is Rosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? The gematria is the exact same. It's just in a different order.
Right.
And it has the hay on the end. So
right. So this is the revelation of straight, and we're going to talk exactly on that. That's why I want to go there. So
fire on the head.
Right. So
fire on the head of the first fruit that has revelation.
Right. And you can see even on the first the Exodus 34:13 over there, to cut down the Asherim.
Yeah, well, this word actually means to cut a covenant.
Right, and so this is about the fire covenant, the law of love, that you're actually rendering clear the covenant of love, and these are the Asherim trees. These are and that's synonymous with priests and pilasters, and we don't need to go into that right now, but
it does have that connection of the Vav Aleph Tav, as in Genesis 1:1, where we're talking about the Rosh, right?
Right.
Bereshit.
Yeah.
And the Vav Aleph Tav is actually the one that connects heaven and earth.
Right. So this is an Asher pole. This would be a tethering device that would be sovereignly connecting in love, the frequency of love. That's what brings down and joins in the middle. And everything about this language is about between the pieces. We've seen it over and over again in Abraham and walking between the water of Exodus. That's all between the pieces language, and everything is between mother and father, because it's us in frequency, but everything that we're seeing is in the resonance of walking between hemispherically, walking between dimensions, walking between above and below, inside and outside, walking between the waters of chaos and the waters of peace, however you want to say that, but we are in between it, weaving it together through the experience. And it's all encapsulated as a cup of love. But before we can comprehend the cup of full, we have to comprehend the cup of empty, or the cup of bitter, if it's the same language. And that's exactly what Yeshua was showing us, that he drank the full cup, every drop he had to drink of love from beginning to end. And so we're going to see it in a little bit of expression here. And we can even see it in this first 842 in Asherah, that this is an olive sheen resh hay, but it morphs when we go to and we can go into now, jump into 6253. Now we're going to have an ayin and a tav added. In the heart is now, and we can see that in this word we have the goddess of love. Now that's, again, the goddess doesn't spook me. It's a frequency. But in the heart of this, and where is it from?
And it looks like, I'll go back there and I'll look at it.
Well, I'll tell you where it's from. It's from
Ashtaroth.
Right, it's from 6251.
And it's interesting to even talking about this, because there's people get confused between Ashereth, Astarte, Asherah, And its frequency changes in progression because Asherah starts with an aleph, right?
That's
and
what.
this one is an ayin.
That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah.
This would be a full version. This would be knowing love. This would be the cup is completely filled up, and you have heart. You have both frequencies as a mother and father dwelling in you, in love, um, and its resonant. So this is a fully consumed one in the all knowing of what love is, and this is
So
what.
it's the burning eye.
Yeah, and this is what we're establishing. Yeah, so this would be a completed build. If you want to draw a picture, it's draw a pyramid and put a eye. That's takes the spooky out of that. That's exactly what this is. This is a built temple, a house in representation of why we are here in the earth through the construct of Bible, right? So that's what we're doing is we're looking at a formula as close as we can get, extracting out through Aramaic and Hebrew, and following a template, and we're extracting out through innocence and purity in the frequency of love. And this is how the Spirit allows us to see. And we've done this for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're now extracting out and sharing our works with you.
And
So,
I want to show too that Shin Tov
mhm.
is also a Hebrew word that means foundation.
Right.
To set a foundation.
Right, and actually Ashra goes down to foundation. I'll have to find it in here. Let me see if I have it in my file real quick. Um, it's not going to work with foundation, so I'll put an F on the front of that.
Darn computer.
Yeah, okay, it's not in this file.
That's all right. It doesn't matter. It's right here. You can see it's foundation. That is the Hebrew word for foundation.
Right, and it's actually in. There's actually words for this, and it actually tethers to Ashua. It's not Yeshua, it's Ashua, and so you can see it, and it means foundation. But that's fine. Um, I'm sure we talked about it on another teaching, but so I wanted to bring up that about the ayin and see how that morphs a little bit, and then you can see that even in that as it starts to separate out, because I know that root's at 6251, and that goes to perhaps young, but yet again, it's only a frequency. It's what we call the fountain of youth. This is where they get this language from, because the ayin on the prefix of this is fountain, and it's also springs of water, and it also ties into eye. It's all the same word. So it's head, fountain, youth, regenerative, purpose, right? And so this is where
seeing and knowing purpose.
so this love is the fountain of youth. That word, that one letter, is the fountain of youth. And if you want to take it to
But I did want to say that something that we did talk about was the Tavresh Tav right here. So we have both covenants of mother and father, and you as the head in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? So these are what's on your right and left hand shoulder, and that in the construction of letters, those are actually three reshes.
Right. Three reshes,
Like,
and the right and the left are propped up by the vav.
Right. That has a leg.
So on the right hand side, that would be humility. On the left hand side, that would be meekness.
Yep.
And so that would be resh, 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 or rosh, rosh, rosh. And in its own telling, it says, you are the risen head. And that is right, Rashit, Barashit, build this by choice, build this. So absolutely, the three, mother, father, son, however you want to do that, the spirit is weaving you back together to one resh. And so it would just disappear into one, but it's done in the frequency of love. And that's what that says.
And that is your foundation.
So that's your foundation right there.
So that you have the eye of fire.
And this is all, again, based on the premises, or not. This is based off of the foundation of shorthand. What we're doing is extracting out. You can't see the morphology, but those words are really condensed, very, very compressed, and they're waiting to vibrate out to express what they're saying. And so that's how we can extract to see better. So just jump to, so they can say 6251, because that's the root of that word.
Young.
And you can see the only difference is on that word really is, besides vowel points, but a lot of similarities, but in the spelling overall, the only thing difference is the hey on the suffix. So this would be Father's revelation that would lead to Father's love.
Which is the fountain of youth.
Right. And then if we want to take this to, because that's the premises, the ayin. But if you want to take it down to this word goes to 6224. And this would tie into a tithe.
Yeah, I see that. And so, you've spoken of it before about how there's always a tithe. There's always a tenth.
The tenth is the remnant, and I know that you dug out some stuff this morning on that.
I will be sharing about the remnant.
We need to I left that out on purpose on the other one, but we'll bring this in on this one. That the Ashra is directly connected to a measure, and they're the tithe, and so the Father will have his tithe. There are those in the earth that are building as a tithe, and it's exactly what's going on right now. And that is 6245 is what that is. Sorry.
6224.
6224. All right. All right. Well, let's go back to let me see here. Just trying to take it to another place, but we don't need to go there right now. So I think that we've already broken this down as far as what is transacting in love, and now we can move into what we've been given. I want you to go, please, to 4767. And we've been given much. And this is all what's being built right now. And as much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
And you can see that in that first word, right? So now we have reshbet, he, and then the mem on the prefix. And that memrash is bitter. And
that's the Hebrew word for bitter.
Right. And if you want to look at it, let me go to, I think it's on page 5. You can see it right away that it is, the word for bitter is 4843. This to be bitter, mar, but yet.
Well, and then many times it's translated, as you can see right here, mar.
Right. And you can also go, this is where we get frankincense and myrrh. And this is, so why don't you jump to 4753 real quick.
And then be bitter. All right, 4753. Myrrh.
So this is where we get frankincense and myrrh. And now this will be in the process of Esther, or Hadassah. She would have been in the process of becoming the queen, and she was 6 months of bitter and 6 months of sweet fragrances in the bath in preparation when the eunuch was preparing her, readying her for the union with king. This is all telegraphing. And so she would have been in bitter, mother, and then 6 months of frankincense, and you can look at that verse to yourself, but then she would have been 6 months in the sweet, and that's how she prepares herself. So myrrh is directly connected to this as, and you can see that in this word too. Right.
I find it interesting that the very first occurrence of this has to do with the head.
Right.
And notice that we have vowel points on the right and left of the sheen, which is talking about the king and queen, and that's a segol that's above.
Right.
Which means segula as the peculiar people that are a treasure.
Right. And we've already, in the other teachings that we've already done, that's why we're going back to fill this lost one, is that this is all about healing the head wound.
Exactly.
And this is what this is. This is the risen head that is no longer being crushed by the oppressive nature of the heel. There's no one over you anymore. At least this is the procedure out, because we've been given an immense responsibility and a great measure, and it has to be met with a frequency, a resonance of similitude or likeness that equates to the measure. This is exactly what's going on right now, that the powers and principalities that are in control right now on the inverted side of this do not want us to find or calibrate to this, because we would turn the world back to the principality and the power of love.
And right here it's showing you Bet in front of Shamayim.
Right.
It's Sheen Mayim with the Dagesh on the left. So this is the teachings of the Father here.
Right.
Right. So you're building through the Father's fire to purify. So this literally, this word right here is fire and water.
Right.
Because of the Mayim. So you're building yourself, your head, your head of fire, building it through love, because there's the Bet Tav, the 222.
Yep.
And you have to start through the process of bitter.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So before we leave bitter, you're in 4753, and we've already did 4783. Go, and you can see, go down to the bottom of this one so people can see that this is all about the description of that. So they can see it's all about distillation. Does it say in there?
Yep. Yes, distillation and drops.
Okay, and then that's where it goes to 4843. But now let's go to 4752.
Okay, so one down. A drop.
Right. And this is exactly what's going on, that what's being built through drips and drops of distillation, through purity, taking out everything that is not, leaving what is, and then we're building our own well of water, our own bucket of water. And then I wanted you to go to, please, to 2222, because this is all based off of the 22 of Father and the 22 of Mother. And I want to tie it to distillation.
This is drips and drops, so the cough is the cup that is upright, that is a container to be filled.
Yes.
In the drips and the drops, starting with Myrrh first, with the bitter.
Perfect, because that's what we're going to show real quick before we go into the verse I want to do. Hope this doesn't get too long-winded, but just show them the 2222 so we can
Strong's 2222?
Yes, yeah.
Zarzif.
22 Mother, 22 Father.
There we go.
Dripping and dropping. And this is like showers, the water of the earth. This will be, I see this as a latter rain. It's already been a former rain and a latter rain, but this is all based in love. And with the 22 and the 22 together like that, this is Mother and Father, and this is what's going to come and water the earth. So, and Jerusalem is Yarushalayim, means to flow like water. And so you can see in this already that this will be a latter rain, and they will flow. I think Bruce Lee once.
So flow like water in peace.
I think
Shalom.
Bruce Lee once said, like, flow like the water, and it's kind of. I think there's a little bit of knowing on the hidden side of this.
Oh yeah, because he said, "Become the water."
Become the water, and that's exactly. But you can only become the water through drips, and that's the patience and the long suffering of it, and the gentleness and the kindness to ourselves and love is that we ingather. There's no rush in this. We're given a lifetime to do this, but. I just wanted to show that component of what bitter, and now we're going to go to the cup and why we've been given this. So go to 4767, please.
Which is where we were at before.
Right.
The Mar.
So this is much has been given.
Because Rabbah is the root.
Right. And I want you to go into, please. Now we can see that. So now we have much is given, but this is already Mar right there. So now we have bitter. Build this to the revelation of Father. This is how you build this. This is a bitter cup, and it has to be filled. And this is the much. And if you go down to the bottom of this word, you can see Rabbah.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking abundance in great quantity.
Yeah, why don't you tap on that? And this goes right to Genesis 1:22 again. This is to be fruitful and multiply. So this is what it is. You've been given much, and it is in the measure, and this is directly connected to fruit, to building the head, to healing the head wound. And you can go to, why don't you go to the next, go up to the top again, to the top, and go to 7235A. To be or become much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So to be or become much, many or great. So to be great. or
Right.
become great.
Right.
And it's important, I think, that to note on that it's the hay that is added on there. So in other words, if you want to be able to become great in your life, then you need the revelation of the Father's teaching.
Yes, you do.
This is the one that was removed because we fell into a position of materialism and we were not handling this properly, this revelation, because it's completely spiritual based.
No, our head wound, we kind of bloated up the head.
Yeah,
we became focused on materialism and vanity.
Yeah.
And it's really, that's a counter spirit to love. It's still okay to learn from it, but if you're going to walk in that direction forever and never learn what it is, then you're walking in a polemic state of being, and that's not the intention. And so you will be a counterfeit to what was the intended, and that's really, there's a word for that, and it's really defined as void and lacking and useless, really, in its own word. I want to go to the bottom of this thing, of this word right here. There's a word that says by mistake for rabab. Just hit it really quick. And it says by mistake, and I'm going to show you that that's not a mistake. 7:3, and it says a shoot. And this ties into, if you look at the occurrences, this is about an arrow. This is the flight of the arrow. Straight is the path of the arrow. And we just showed you what straight as Asher, straight is the way is the arrow. And it even talks, when you go down a little further.
Well, look at that. Myrrh.
Right.
Bitterly.
Bitterly is your straight path.
Yep, and shot out lightnings.
Right. So, anyway, so they say this is a mistake. They're incorrect. So go back and I'll show you why. Go back to the top. And then go back, please, to where you just came from, if you can. Yeah. And then go into B. So there should be an A and a B on this word. Rabah. And so now you have to become, and then there should be a B, and it will say to shoot.
Yep.
So how could it be wrong if it's in its own definition?
I know.
So anyways, that's just something to see. I did want to go into, while we're there, we were talking about the one occurrence of in much in 4767. So we want to see what this is. What is this abundance, and what is this bitter, and why is it such a big deal? Because we're building this in the earth, and this is a principality and the power still. So let's go into Ezekiel 23:32, and we're not going to go too heavy into this because it can go, but you can already see in this.
There's the cup.
There's the cup. And the sister and the brotherhood of love, they shall drink this cup. Now, because this is the template. This is the much that's required from you.
There's the deep.
There's the deep.
So you're drinking deep of the revelation of Mother and the revelation of Father.
Deep is directly connected to the ayin, the fountain of youth, or the knowing, because you're building the tree again. This is how you're opened up wide again.
And just to say, cup right here, we've talked about that the cough is grasping hold of the power because it's a cough pay. But this is also a risen cough. So this means that your cup is being filled.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and so it's just interesting. You're not draining your cup. I mean, literally, it's the open hand that is. Yeah. You're not pouring out of your hand.
No.
You're receiving it in your cupped hand. And then look at that. The Dagesh in there says that you've been pierced, and then you have the Vav where you're filled up.
Right.
And then the Samek, which is the symbolic for the wedding ring.
Right.
Right? So you are being filled up as one who has been wed, that is surrounded and supported, hedged in with the shield of thorns that protects you.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's a big deal right there.
Yeah,
that's a spiritual cup that's been filled up by drips and drops through distillation, and you're drinking of the cup, and you shall drink. Yep.
But again, what do we have here? I mean, this is Shatah,
right.
But look, we have the two Tavs and the fire.
Right.
So you're drinking of the fire.
Yep.
And again, we have the Shin Tav, your foundation.
Right.
And you become part of the deep, and you have shared that before.
Yes.
And the last thing I want to say before we move on here, wow, this is such a great verse.
Yeah.
This word right here, Rakab. What is that?
That's part of the Merkabah.
Yeah, and it's also Karev, which is sword.
Right.
So to become to widen yourself. So we're always talking about height and depth and breadth and width. Right now it's saying in humility, be teachable to receive the revelation of the Mother Spirit and the Father Spirit, which will widen you, which is part of your Merkabah, your chariot, and your sword.
Right. And
right?
And the other, again, we're filling in. So we lost this teaching, like I said, but this is width and breadth, height and depth. This is all arc language of measurements of intention. Everything is about the measurement that we're to fulfill in the earth. And that's the bet tov that was misplaced or lost, or we've lost sight of, or you can see that in the word lost too. Something was lost. And
yeah, because that's actually the word abada.
Right.
Right?
So father was lost.
Abada.
Right.
So the father, the door to the hay.
Right.
It was lost.
So the revelation, but it wasn't lost really. It's just, again, it's taken out of you. We're putting the pieces back because the revelation was removed back in Genesis when Adam was taken out. The hay was taken out of Adam, and it was then formed into the Isha, the flame woman or spirit. Again, in the frequency. I'm not talking about the story. I'm talking about the higher frequency, the vibration. And that's what's tethering us to find Father again in the garden.
Right. And so really the vibration frequency is always there.
Right.
Our vibration lowered. And so it was lost to us until we matched that resonance frequency.
We are the garden. We are the garden, but we're a little lopsided in the garden until we find center and we weave correctly, putting mother and father back together hemispherically.
Right there, Haya.
So yeah, there you go. So we are, through the power of that vision, the revelation, then we have the power, means, and directions to do this, but it's calling forth conditions for unconditional love. And that's like, you have to be within the parameters and of building it fully.
And this would be the golden rule here.
Right.
Like you have to start through the golden rule.
Right. And so there is a template to this.
So in other words, to whom much is given, much is required. We've got that word much in this verse, hence why you wanted us to see this verse. There's a requirement here. And again, we've got, look at all these lameds in here too.
Yeah.
So instructions of light to teach your heart. And then we have the pattern right there of the Ark of the Covenant with the two lameds next to each other.
Yeah, there's a lot hidden in this.
Yeah,
a lot hidden in
I know.
this.
And I know we don't have time.
Yeah, because that's even Esau. 67:12 is Isaac as a teacher. So that's a light bearer.
Right, because that the only difference is with that is there would be a yod in front of it.
Right. Right.
But this is the root of Isaac's name.
Right, but this is much is given. So this one, the Lamed really is saying this is now light.
Yeah, exactly.
This is laughter, light, and love.
And
now.
that is a staff of authority.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
Yep.
And look at, and the very last word, and then we can go on, just the root of it, to contain and measure.
Yes.
To calculate, to sustain, to support and nourish.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Support and endure, and to be supplied.
Right.
I mean, that's to sustain and endure and be supplied. And look at that. We've got the Lamed on the front and the back. So we have two twin teachers of light that bring forth revelation to give to you. Yeah. For you to cup and fill yourself with, which is the power, means, and direction.
Go into that word. Go into that word, because you need to see it in Genesis 45:11. So we need, and 45:12, because this is provision. This is comprehension.
Oh, this is great.
So this is comprehension. This is provision. This is
wow.
Everything that is, as far as this is, we talk about what is unsustainable and what is sustainable. This is sustainability. This is, if you're looking for a definition of sustainability, this is it right here. And that right there is completion.
Or to be whole.
Right.
Right?
completed. Kalel.
But yes, and it's Kalel, but it's Kal, these two words, these are mirrors of each other, so we know this is already the pattern of mother and father.
Yes.
Right? And Kaf Lamed means whole.
Yes.
So to become whole through the mother and to become whole through the father by opening your hand to receive that which they want to pour into you so that you can be marked with unconditional love.
Yes.
Right? And now you're given the power of the right hand.
If you so
that you can give it to others.
If you go down,
and you're of the name.
If you go down, like it says right on the top, actually, comprehend and contain.
Yep.
There's something we used to say is that a container isn't full until it's fully contained. And in this word, and that's when it's sealed, right? Because it's already overflowing. In the time of sealing, it's ready to be sealed. You wouldn't seal it partial. You would allow it to be a full measure, and then you would seal it. So this is how you fill the container, is in light's lessons of love between mother and father, between the drips and drops of bitter, the myrrh, and the father's drips and drops, the frankincense, which really frankincense means white. And so between the bitter and the white,
And that's Laban, your heart,
right?
While you're in your flesh.
This is how,
Labnun.
right? This is how you. This is how we cloak ourselves, language or garment ourselves, and this is what's waiting for us when we say when the Christian church says, "Oh, our garments." Well, we're weaving them through the bitter work of our flesh, and every measure is we do it through a summation of who we are, and we are ingathering, filling our cup full of love, and we will be able, like Yeshua, to say we drank the whole cup, and it's on to death. It's on to the fullness of completely removing yourself. Death has been really appropriated and incorrectly defined, and this takes the sting out of death. This is exactly what this does. So that was actually a sideline to what we really wanted to talk about.
But again, it's a measurement.
Right.
So it's good to connect these things.
But I want people to see that, right, mother and father are a measure. It's frequency, it's calibration, it's completion, it's grasping, it's bending. They're making you what? Kaf also means to be bent and to be opened up.
Yeah.
And so your heart is being opened. It's the drips and drops are really like salve. It's healing you in the gentle process. It's revealing much to you, and it's expressing itself as a completed measure. But it's being gracious in the time allowed to become that exact measure, the Bet Tov.
Mm-hmm.
So built as love.
Yep.
So very cool.
Which will maintain you.
Which will maintain
sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I wanted to go now into the verse of why we started. What is this love? And powerful little verse right there. So there was one occurrence.
Did you want to talk about the principalities, Myrrh?
Yeah. This is starting with principalities of what's going up and what's coming down. And I wanted to bring one word for it. I just got to find it in my file here. Give me 1 second. And it's directly connected to Ashra and love. And let's start with, again, with go to 4437. And what we have here is we have royalty, reign, kingdom. And we have the Mem Lamed. Instead of the Mem Resh now, we have the Mem Lamed. And this, by definition, is full. This would be Mel, actually. And this is where we get the word honey from. In all the old Nordic and Gnostic words, this would be the rendering of the name Mel means honey, and this is what this is. Mel it means to be filled and full. You've taken, and that's why we say that the bitter is the drips and the drops. So when it's full, that lamed Mel, you are now a cup of sweet.
So, because the mar, which is bitter, is meant to resh. The rosh means to be poor and destitute, to raise you up, and when you've raised up and filled, now you're into the place of sweet.
And this is the same vernaculars that they use in scripture about take this, eat this, it will be sweet in your mouth, but it'll be bitter in your stomach. Is because really what it's saying is when it gets digested, it's asking for activation. It's forming a likeness DNA, and that's it. It doesn't happen overnight. This is the bitter work of doing it. Associating it through activation, realizing that it's going to be, oh my goodness, arduous through 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years.
And then also facing the things that you don't necessarily want to face that are within you.
Everything
it's your load bear.
Everything in the journey of life is the bitter work to produce this full cup right here. And that's exactly what this is. This is a cup of sweet. So that's kingdom, cup of sweet. And you see that with the Vav on the end, this is actually a completed one that's completely pierced in meekness. So this kingdom reign it's nothing it does have expression on the outside, but this is all inwardly. We rule and reign ourselves first. This is what's going on in the world right now, that we're seeing exactly a polemic to this, is we're not seeing correct right rule and reign. They don't know even how to rule themselves, and they're ruling the world. And this would be a great lesson taught to any governing official. This is why it is what it is, and we've walked away from it, as this is how we govern self.
Right, and this is a kaf that is risen. This is actually the root right here is malak, which means king or queen, but it's not a fallen kaf now.
Right.
Right? So you're not saying, I've emptied everything out and I don't want to receive anything. It's now an open hand that receives what? The power of meekness.
Absolutely.
Because you are now connected to Father.
And meekness is all absolute power. That's a pretty strong, that's in the earth. That's meekness in the earth, and that's power and control.
The power of love.
Which is really meekness is you've reached absolute 0 point and you're choosing not to wield the scepter in a negative way. You can if you so choose, but again, the place of neutrality, that is direct center, that Dagesh and its Kmatz, and it's saying that, this is a center.
Technically, it's a Sharut.
Sharut.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. Now go to the root of this word, 4438, and this will be in the Aramaic, and we'll see a little fuller expression of what's saying.
And that word meant dominion.
Yeah, that's dominion.
So dominion, king's domain.
Right, the king's domain. And you are the king. We are the king and queen's domain. This is what's going on.
The kingdom within.
So now we have royalty, power, reign, kingdom again, rule, dominion. The only difference in here now is we have an added tav on the suffix.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be completely in the Aramaic form. This would be love. This would be you are now Father's love. This is one that's ruling and reigning as love.
You are marked.
You are sealed and marked. This one is sealed.
Frequency change of unconditional love.
Yeah. So that tav is, yes, it means mark of the seal, but it's also the seal of love. So it's vibrating to love because that is the seal. It's the seal of love, and it's a frequency, not a word. And so that's exactly what that's saying, which is very, very cool. Let's tie mother back in, if you don't mind. There's a lot we can do with this, but this principality of this is all about ascension. So let's go to mothers. Let's go to Strong's 4761 real quick to give another picture of principality.
Yep.
And we can see lots in this word right here. First of all, there's the Mar again, and then Asa. And so now we have the bitter work. That this is principality and headship, and this one is still functioning in Revelation. So this one isn't completed. This is a power and a principality that's still progressional.
And it's interesting to note too that the memhe, ma, that is the term like where the word manna came from. Ma, what is it?
What is it?
So right in the middle of this, like right in this whole word, principality and power, memhe, what is a principality and power? It's literally asking the question.
Right.
And you can tell who principality and powers are the ones that are the head of fire.
Right. Yeah. This is, again, better sheet, Genesis 1:1. We need to take it all the way back to Genesis 1:1, and this will be also the revealing of in Revelation. These will be the revealed, the heads of fire, that they will be now indwelled. And so there's Genesis 1:1 in the beginning.
And so we have Rosh.
Rosh.
And there it is.
Right there. And so that is exactly, and then go back to the 1:1, please. And then again, just for people to recap, that you can see that on either side of that, the mother and the father, mother would say, build this, and father would say, I am love, journey between the pieces.
And the 3 letters that aren't highlighted is Bayit, your house.
Right. So you're building the temple.
The head of your house.
Right. And so you are becoming the head, and this is done individually, and then it's done corporately, and this is how we create nations. This is how we become islands unto ourselves, but really what flows between us is living water. And that's my definition of true landmass. Is that when I say water, I mean the flow of spirit between us. But there's the power, means, and the directions to do that. And so that's pretty cool. So this principality, if you go back to 4761, you can see that headship is right in its definition. So people say we're not just making this up, it's right in its definition, it's headship. And so that's the Rosh, and that's from Rosh, right? So there's what it's from. It says right there that it's from. And so you can go and say that, bang, it's the head, right?
Yeah.
And this is the first occurrence of the first of the 4 rivers, right? And there you have again, he shall bruise your heel, and you shall, right?
He shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise
your
heel. Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So this
and
is,
then again, look at that with the 4 rivers. It's a lamed in front of it.
right.
And this is a quadrated individual.
Yeah.
Right? That has the revelation.
These are headwaters. This is the Ayin language of becoming the Ayin now.
Yeah.
This is the fountain, again, the fountain of youth. Or if you want to think of the hippocampus and the story of what Pegasus was the Hippocrene, Mount Hippocrene. Pegasus flew up, and that's Zeus in Hebrew. It's Semek Vav Semek, and it kicked open the fountain of the deep.
Yeah, and look at this. There's Rabbah, Resh, Bet, hey, what we were just talking about.
Right. It comes so fast.
Right, because the ayin is right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then you have the Lemed Aleph, the instruction, the teacher that will come to teach you the way of one.
Right.
To multiply you, Rabbah.
Everything
so that you have inward knowing.
Everything
That's
is
big.
everything is connected. The difficulty is it's like exploding this out and going like, doesn't matter what piece I pick up, it's still connected to the piece that's over there. It's just, and that's the trouble, because it's like going from Genesis, but then it's connected to this, because everything's connected, but we can't possibly touch everything in one little session.
I know, right?
But we have to state that everything touches
everything.
Everything touches.
Yeah. Well, so it's all.
Right. So go to back to 4767, and then I want to extrapolate out a little bit more about what this Marasa is, the principality and the power, because we know we just brought the cup of bitter and drop. So go to 6213 real quick, and we'll see Asa, because that's right in this word too. Now, but this is an Ayin. This is a morphing here of an Ayin Shin He, and so this would be a greater version, and this is expanse.
Well, and then that already tells you, if you're going to do or make something, you have to have the vision first before you do it or make it.
Right. But that's why I want to say that's why that Ashra, or the Asherim, love is this. You've accomplished, and this is where the Ayin steps in to say you're completely filled up, and it even is like a goblet right there, as an expanse.
A goblet or a chalice, if you want to use that word, right?
Right.
And how amazing, right? This word, first usage of it, he made the expanse, but look at this. He made the Elohim through the Aleph Tav.
Right.
As the beginning, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, the Elohim.
Show them A and B real quick on Asa.
On Asa.
Yeah, and I think A is the same.
Yep.
Do it to make, and then go to B to squeeze.
Yep.
So this is what we're squeezing out. We're squeezing out the oil, the essence of, this is how we become the menorah. We're squeezing out the oil because this is all directly connected. And then go to the bottom. You should be able to go to the bottom of 6213. And it should lead us to Rabbah. I think it does. Not sure. Hard to remember all this stuff.
Oops. A little too far.
Nope. Okay, well I thought it went to, but that's okay. It should go to yielding fruit, but that's fine. It's not a problem at all. All right, so let's go now. So we're working through this, pressing and squeezing, and this is how we become principalities and powers. Go to.
Well, but there's bearing fruit right here.
Oh yeah, okay, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, Genesis 1:1:1. So this is bearing fruit. So this is how we produce the fruit. This is now, because again, you'll know them by their fruit, and this is exactly what it is. This is top branch. This is.
I like that. It's pari, asa, pari.
Mm-hmm.
Fruit on the front and fruit on the back.
Yeah.
And the middle is make it.
Yeah, very French almost, right?